to hear yourself with the headphones on, and it's like
I sound like deeper, sexier, like a sexier version of myself.
Well, I'll tell you this. So the Rodecaster has an option on here for the microphone settings. It's called the big bottom setting.
Okay.
So what you're hearing right now is the big bottom.
Yeah.
You got that big bottom.
That's why I sound awesome.
Yeah. If only we could have the big bottom.
Exactly. It fills me with confidence, actually.
Do you think that, I mean, I guess I wouldn't be that surprised if at some point in time when we're all living in the simulation, you know, we all have headphones on and we're all listening to each other speak through headphones constantly.
Yeah.
The big bottom will play a big part.
Yeah, you can augment whatever, right? Yeah, I think that's a given, I think. I don't think it's an if. I think it's a when. I think it's a when. For sure.
It's going to be scary times. It's going to be real scary. All right, well, fuck it. Everything's rolling. Everything's going. We got some beers. We got some wave files recording.
Yeah.
Only thing left to do is this. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes, and this is my podcast. This right here. You're looking at it. You're listening to it. Want to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, thanks for coming back. And if you're new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. Cheers, my friend. Cheers. I'm sitting here today. To my left, to your right, if you're watching on the TV, is my somewhat recent new acquaintance / friend.
Yeah.
We met recently. We're going to get into all of that. But his name's Paul Neil. He does a lot of stuff. He's a really nice guy. And hey, we're really happy to have you here, and the internet's happy to see you.
Wow, that is a nice round of applause.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't even know where to start with you because there's a lot of different things. So why don't you
There's a few things.
Just put yourself out there and let the people know, like, why the fuck are you here?
That is a good question. My wife and I moved to Pittsburgh May 2nd. So we're relatively new transplants from the Chicago area. Thank you.
Welcome.
Pittsburgh is the bomb. I've said this often now, actually. There's I haven't met like a true asshole in Pittsburgh.
Oh.
And I'm sure they exist somewhere, but like a guy that you just meet and you're just like, that guy's a fucking asshole. I haven't met that yet.
That's good.
Do you know any assholes in Pittsburgh?
I know a few.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, totally.
All right. I haven't met them yet, so keep them away from me.
Yeah.
So we moved here mostly because our kids are out of the house on their own, got jobs, all of that stuff, and we could live anywhere. So we decided to live in Pittsburgh because I truly love Pittsburgh. And I had to convince my wife to love Pittsburgh, but it wasn't so hard. We came and checked out houses over a period of about 18 months, and we ended up on the south side, and it's been pretty awesome. One of the reasons is because I've been in lots of bands over the years.
Music,
yeah.
Punk rock.
Starting with a band that I'm still in Germany called Doping the Void. So I work for a German company as my day job. And I lived in Germany for a long time and started this band with these guys. And then when I moved back, we just sort of kept it together.
That's awesome.
And so we played like 2008 maybe at the Moose downstairs before they had the upstairs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, OG. For those of you out there that don't know, there used to be shows downstairs at the Smiling Moose, and the upstairs at the Moose looked a lot different than it does nowadays.
There was like pinball machines or something up there. Yeah.
It was actually kind of sweeter. But we don't got to get into that. It's fine.
Yeah. So that was my first time. I met Lefty Jared Johnston, who I'm in a band with now that I've moved to Pittsburgh. So he was like the first dude I met here. And over the year, playing in different bands, coming through Pittsburgh, I met a lot of people. Famously, Polka Kapolka.
Oh yeah. Shout outs to that motherfucker.
He's a legend, and he became a really good friend. And again,
perpetually 18 years old.
There is not a more fun dude to be around.
No, he's great. He's a great dude.
So last night we had competing shows. Speaking of polka, I played the half-covered Halloween show that's put on by Some Die Nameless.
Shout outs to Derek.
Derek does a good job all the time. Yeah. And you had a show at
Full Pint. Yeah, we had the Sykes and the New Violence Halloween party. If you were there, thanks for being there. if
you
you
were
were
half
at Paul's
covered,
show,
yeah.
thanks for being
Yeah,
there too.
Exactly.
It's not a competition. It's all there's no way for all of the people that are doing stuff to not play shows at the same
Right.
time. And it's an unfortunate side effect of a thriving music community.
And that's what I do want to talk about that a bit. But getting back to polka in the show last night, I played a Super Fun Time song, and then I played the song Polka Kapolka by the Danzas in honor of the Danzas. It was their first show after 2 years.
Yeah, shout outs to them too. They've been on the show, so
yeah.
shout outs to y'all.
So I did those two back to back, and it was a good time. So that's a long-winded way of saying that I've done a lot of shows. I met a lot of people and decided to move here in the end. And I still have like I said, I still have the band in Germany. I still have a band in Chicago called Simon Ferocious. Those guys were just here. We started recording a new album, and we did some shows. And then I have the band here, the Richard Move, with Lefty. And then I have my little label, and I'm helping out at 222 Ormsby. So that's kind of all the stuff that's happening.
So for a lot of the Pittsburgh people here, the thing that's probably gonna perk the most attention is 222 Ormsby.
Yeah.
Because, recently revitalized venue, a legendary venue for Pittsburgh underground music that, was taken away from us, and now it has been brought back.
Yep.
Thanks to some people, and yourself included, that's helping a lot with stuff there. So let's get into like the stuff that you're doing at Ormsby.
So Dave Isod bought it a year or two ago, and mostly because he loved the venue and he loved the scene. Even someone like me who's not from Pittsburgh had heard of it. I'd never played there before, but I'd certainly heard of the venue. It really is a legendary DIY spot, and not just for Pittsburgh. So he bought it, and he wanted just to continue to do shows. But same sort of thing. He ran into trouble with the borough and noise and all that stuff. And they did a few shows, had to cancel a few shows. And then earlier this year, he basically reached an agreement with Ormsby with the borough, Mount Oliver, that if he followed certain rules, then he could do shows again.
Yeah.
So I saw an interview with him in the paper, the city paper, and in it he said something like, well, we're just, trying to figure it out, and we don't really know what we're doing, and if anybody wants to help out, they should contact me. And so I knew I was moving, so I contacted him and said, I want to help out, because I had been doing shows in Chicago for a couple of years. I had put on 4 shows a month at 2 different venues. The brewery I'm wearing, Miskatonic Brewing Company, shout out to them. They're awesome. They're in the Chicago suburbs. So I did a couple of shows there a month, and then at a bowling alley called Tivoli Bowl. And so I had some experience with that sort of stuff. So I told Dave that I'd be happy to help out and help him do shows. And that's basically how it started. So either Dave is there or I'm there on show nights.
Yeah.
And then of course, the positive side effect for me is that I can book my own shows, or put people on that I want to get out of towners to come in. And
hell yeah,
it's been cool.
Yeah, it's a super valuable resource. I'm glad that place is back up and running. I'm glad that the people that are doing stuff there seem to be reasonably responsible. No shade towards any of the previous people that have run shows at Ormsby. Some of them are great people, some of them not so great. We were talking a little bit about assholes. There's definitely been some assholes that have been involved in that space that you need to avoid. You may know who I'm talking about. If you're watching this, we don't got a name drop, but fuck them. It happens. And, a big part of that, that's a big part of the reason why supposedly some of those people are a big part of the reason why Ormsby stopped being a thing.
Well, so the people attending the shows now have been super respectful. So part of the problem is, people go outside and smoke or whatever, and they're noisy and they drink and that, because it's a residential.
Yeah, it's usually like the side effects. It's not the show itself. Right, it's like the dumb little shit. Like somebody leaves a fucking, a can of beer on a sidewalk, and then that just fucking ends everything.
Yeah. So it really is. So I can see the point from the it's all houses around it. There isn't anything else. But so far all the shows have been pretty well attended, and people have been super respectful, and it's been really, really positive. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I think that, you get smart people that have an understanding of just how to do something respectful and pay attention to those little extra things. Like if people are being noisy outside, it's like, hey, just tell them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And then, don't leave your garbage laying around.
Yeah.
And, work with bands that you at least have some sort of an idea of who
Yeah.
they are, what
Yeah.
they're doing, the
Yeah.
kind of crowd they're going to bring, and you'll have like a healthy environment.
Yeah. And so one of the things is you can't smoke inside, but you can't drink outside.
Okay.
So it's always like decision time. What am I going to do? Do I want to smoke more? Or do I want to drink more?
Uh-huh.
So it's people like get to the door with a cigarette and a beer, and then they have to decide what they're going to do.
That's so funny.
It's great.
Yeah, but hey, that's the thing that I guess growing up, you gotta it's not very punk rock, but you gotta give into some rules at some point in time, unfortunately.
Yeah. So the venue's been great, and so my little label is called Katzulhu Productions. Katze is the German word for cat. We have 4 cats at home, and Cthulhu, of course, is the old one, ancient monster from Lovecraft stories.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's going to come and all of the ancient ones are going to come and destroy the world at some point.
Yes.
So get your shit together before that happens.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
Yeah.
So that's where the name comes from. Everybody says, that's a dumb name because I can't spell it, which, yeah, okay, I get that. It's not intuitive to spell, but it's Katzulhu Productions. So that's my little label. I started it because I wanted to put out records that I performed on. And then it's now grown a little
bit.
bit.
The majority of most labels start. I think
it?
that's how it goes.
That is the primary reason for anything, right? I want to put my own music out.
Uh-huh.
There's something really satisfying to having physical copies of something that you made. It's cool.
Yeah.
So then I started doing short run releases of bands that I like this band Radar in Chicago, who I like a lot. So I put out a full length vinyl for them last year. So the new thing that I'm doing with Ormsby is we started about a quarterly event called Live from 222 Ormsby.
Yeah.
And the idea there is that we record a show from a band and we release it on short run. So the first one was a couple of months ago. It was the Crooked Cobras, who are, in my opinion, the tightest band in Pittsburgh. So if you're in a band out there and you think you're tighter than the Cobras, I would like to hear you.
Cool. Yeah. Hit them up.
Bring it on. So we did the first one with them primarily because I knew they wouldn't be bad, right? I've seen them a bunch. I knew they would crush it and everything would be great. So they wouldn't be a problem with the recording.
Yeah.
So they would be a good test for the gear that we bought and all of that. And so I did the first mix. Everything sounds pretty good. We're going to release it hopefully here end of this year, beginning of next year.
Awesome.
The show was well attended. We had the Homicides open, who are another cool punk rock band from the area. And then I did a post on Facebook from my label page and also from the Ormsby page, looking for suggestions for number 2. And one of the suggestions, I don't know if it was from you, but there was a suggestion on there for Grey Walker.
It was not from me.
Wow.
I would never throw my own band's name into the ringer for something like that. I'm like way too unfortunately modest to be that type of person. I'm just not.
You don't want to put your own band over.
And not on something like that. Like who's a good band from Pittsburgh that I'm not going to be like, oh, check out my band. Cause it's so whatever.
A lot of bands do that.
I know, I get it. But it's like, I want that recognition. Like if we were to get selected or something, I just want that to come from other people. I don't want it to be from me. Personally.
So how do you get on shows? Let's take a little sidebar here. So how does Grey Walker get on shows?
I would say those are two different things.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If it's for something like Live from 222 Ormsby, where it's like you're looking for something very specific, I'm not going to be like, yo, check out my band. But if somebody's like, hey, I'm looking for some bands to play shows, then I'll be like, yeah, well, I mean, we have a metal band if you want a metal band.
Yeah.
Or obviously, if we're like trying to play out of town, it's like, hey, we're a metal band. But
okay, that's fair. That makes sense.
I try to avoid doing it on a situation where it's like I'm putting myself on a pedestal above other people. Like my band's the shit, even though we are. But it's just,
I would agree.
I don't like to. I just don't like to do that. It just feels really, I don't know, corny.
That's also, I think that's, I don't know if that's specific to the Pittsburgh scene, but I have found that bands in general here are really supportive of other bands, which is not the same experience like in Chicago where we recently lived. It's very much like, here's our clique of bands and everybody else outside of our clique can fuck off.
Yeah.
We play with the same bands all the time, and these are the venues that we play at, and you can't play at our
I mean, we
venue.
do have that here for sure.
I don't feel it, like, certainly not in the punk rock scene.
Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know, because I honestly am not tied enough to the punk rock scene. I mean, obviously, my big ties would be with metal.
Yeah.
Which we definitely have that in the metal scene. There's like, it's just like this big split, and it tends to be like there's the bands that are more like traditional metal that don't want to fuck with like us metalcore kids, and it's like whatever, like I like Thin Lizzy too. Let's fucking hang out. But they're fucking weird. It's just like, I say this a million times. It's like, if we were in high school, we would have all sat at the same fucking lunch table and been having a fun time. But like now it's like, oh, we can't fucking play on shows together.
But I think some of that comes from guitar players in particular who are really competitive, I find. I'm a guitar player myself, but I play punk rock mostly because, it's easy and I can jump around. If you're a metal guitar player, you have to concentrate on the shit that you're playing.
Yeah.
Not to say you can't jump around and stuff, but it's a different like level. And I do find that if you're a metal guitar player, like you're comparing yourself constantly to the other guitar players.
I think that's natural, but it seems so weird. It's just like, I mean, like, luckily we've been able to, through some circumstances, we've gotten onto bills with bands that, we felt like, oh, maybe that band doesn't like us, or those people, or maybe they thought we didn't like them. But then we all get together and we're all talking about like, Morbid Angel and Genesis in the same conversation. We realize that we're all fucking nerds.
Right.
And it's like, okay, whatever, maybe
cool.
our stuff's a little faster and louder and your stuff's a little bit more classic or doomy or whatever. But like, we all love the same shit. We need to like stick together. So I know us as Greywalker try to like really break those barriers down. And I'm always hitting up bands outside of our element to play with us, even if I think that they aren't going to agree to it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but at least we're trying.
Yeah, that's cool. So then getting back to the live from 222 thing, I got a lot of suggestions. It was great. There was a good conversation happening. I learned a lot of Pittsburgh bands that I'd never heard of. So like lots of new local music I can listen to, which I like to do. But Greywalker came up, and then two people hit me up privately and said, you should choose Greywalker and you should talk to Brian Howe.
Yikes. Well, here we are.
So that was like, and that's when I contacted you and I said, hey, can we just like get together and talk? And that's when I met you for the first time, and you work at a really cool job in that, like, surrounded by records and t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really
total dork over here, man. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Music's my life for sure. So, with that being said, would you care to make the announcement, or should I?
I think you should do it.
Greywalker will be doing the next live from 222 Ormsby in December.
Hit the applause button.
Oh, I
dude.
guess.
There you go. Very nice.
I'm very, very stoked on it. I've kind of like alluded to us doing something in December.
Okay,
I think
cool.
a few times to people, and like, but it hasn't been officially announced yet. So I guess this is the
official,
the first official announcement that we are doing it. It is, we haven't played a show in Pittsburgh in a while. And this was intentional because we want to pack this place out. And this will probably be our last Pittsburgh show for a bit too, because we're like in the middle of getting a new album together and stuff like that. I'm going to throw the guys under the bus, and I do think that we're probably going to be playing new stuff at this show too.
Nice.
Which will be sick, because like there's something with me and kind of getting into like those traditional metal roots where it's like, okay, I understand that we're like a modern sounding metal band, but we're all really traditional in the sense of like, don't write something you can't fucking play live.
Yeah.
And like, I love the idea of recording a live fucking record just to show people like, look, like this is what the fuck it is. You know what I mean? Granted, I'm also like a studio nerd, so I love like going in and recording something really nice and clean and having all
For
the fun
sure.
plugins.
But those
and
are
stuff.
two different things.
Yeah, they're
right?
two different worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
But like
That's
with
how
like
I
a
feel
metal
about it.
record, I just like love the idea of like, look, like this is fucking, just some fucking guys in a room shredding, ripping it, recording it live, like no bullshit, no tricks. And I'm really stoked to have that opportunity to be able to do that and like show people, because like I'm really, I think we have a really tight live show, and I'm stoked to have the opportunity to be able to like show that to like more people outside of like the areas that we get to play.
And so the way that we work it is we record the entire. So if you want to play for an hour and a half, you can play for an hour and a half. We'll record the whole thing, but you got to choose songs that will fit on a record, a vinyl record. So it's 22 minutes aside, and then I'll put it out on my label. You guys get, of course, all the files. I'll make the whole show available if you want, available from the site, and then we basically print 50 records and you get 25.
Cool.
That's the way that it works.
Yeah.
And then we try to sell the other 25 at Ormsby to keep the venue open.
So I mean, if you're gonna want one of those records, you better get on it, because it's
right.
It's short run.
It's 50. It's limited to 50. All the records are limited to 50. And
those things are gone already. I could probably pretty much tell you that. So let me know. Keep an eye out for that. Make sure that come to the fucking show.
Yeah.
1. And then 2, I don't know, whenever we're way down the line. Things not even fucking recorded yet. But once, things are in the motion, you'll know. Make sure that you stay on board with that. So yeah, super stoked to announce that.
And the opener, do you want to announce the opener?
Yeah. There's some dorks opening up for us. There's a little
terrible.
This little terrible punk band called Plasmid. No, shout outs to them. They're really fun guys. We played with them once. It was like we played with them it was at a Darkest Hour show. We both opened up for Darkest Hour. That was a lot of fun.
Crazy.
It was a gnarly lineup.
Because there's a lot of similarities between Grey Walker and Darkest Hour, I think.
Oh, totally, yeah. I've said on multiple occasions that we're the dollar store Darkest Hour.
Because you definitely sound like John Henry a lot.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a high compliment.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's just like I like John Henry's vocal approach, where it's like it's pissed but audible.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can kind of understand.
You can enunciate.
Yeah, so that was always my take, and it ends up having that like that mid-range John Henry is just kind of like he's one of the only people that fucking does it.
Yeah.
You either get like the really high obnoxious stuff, which is cool, or the really low stuff, which is cool too. But like I don't know, I'm just not much of like a toilet bowl vocalist. But that stuff's tight. And also it just works really good, I think, for like the type of music that Grey Walker, the guys write.
Yeah.
Because we're not like super heavy, and we're also not like super, I don't know, just like
there's lots of melodies. I think it's heavy, but there's lots of melodies happening.
Yeah. It's just like that mid-range vocal seems to fit in the pocket for what the band's doing.
That's cool. So how was that show? I want to hear about that now.
So that was a good show. It was probably one of our personal worst shows.
Oh, okay.
It was, but because it was just an awkward, I don't know why that show just was not a good show for us. I know people that were at that show and said we played fine.
Yeah.
But
that's always the case, right? You can often feel like that was the best show ever, and people are like, yeah.
I remember really specifically with that show. So it was at Cativo, and the stage at Cativo, they have like that wooden sort of whatever, like they have like the coat on the wood stage. I don't know what the fuck it is, like
some sort of varnish
polymer varnish, whatever shit. And I remember at the very beginning of our set, there was a water that got kicked over onto the stage. It was very slippery. So like there was something with that, and something where like something weird was happening with the drums, like the drum mic got bumped because like a slipperiness. And like something like, slipperiness, and then like a leg moved, and then the kick drum mic got moved, and then there was just all these weird little like
small things,
all these nuanced small things. And like it's another thing too, where it's like, you're playing with a band that you like a lot, and it was like there was 2 openers, Darkest Hour, and there may have been like 2 other nationals too.
Oh, so a big show.
It was a big show. You got to do quick changeovers. Not a lot of room on stage because they fucking backline gear. Right. Somehow there's 5 bands on a bill, but there's like 15 bands worth of gear on the stage. You have the backline, and it's like, Where's this? What is all this stuff? But yeah, so it wasn't like a very comfortable show for us. But we got to play with Darkest Hour again. We played with them twice, and the second time that we played with them was much better.
Okay.
And it was funny because they actually remembered us when we played with them again, but only because of our drummer's drum kit, I think.
Okay.
Because he has this like this furry leopard print custom truth kit. And I think they remembered us from that.
Yeah,
and
cool.
Travis Orban, who drums for Darkest Hour now, actually played drums on one of my early Sykes records.
Oh.
Yeah. Back when he was it was like even before he was doing like Sky Eats Airplane. It was like in that era on MySpace, he was just doing session stuff. So
That's cool.
I hit him up on MySpace and we became friends. And I was like, hey, like, would you do studio session tracks on some of this psych stuff that I'm doing? So I sent him the tracks and paid him for his time, and he recorded on like half of an album.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. So it was cool because like when we played with them, that was actually the first time that we had met in person. So that was cool too, just like to be able to connect on that and stuff. Really nice guy, super awesome drummer. And yeah, that's something that not a lot of people know about. People that know, I don't like, again, modesty, I don't talk about it a lot, but yeah, there is an old Sykes album that Travis Orban drums on. So
that's pretty cool.
It exists if you're interested.
Which show was Plasmid on?
Plasmid was on, that was the bad one.
Okay.
The bad one. I think the other show that we played with them, I forget what bands played on it, but we were the only local support on it, I'm pretty sure.
So I hit up Plasmid to say we're doing this thing live, number 2. Grey Rocker would like you guys to open, and they were super eager to do it.
Yeah.
So the way I work it with the opening band is we record their set too. I just don't release it. They get the files. They can do whatever they want with them.
Yeah.
So at least they get their set recorded and they can release them.
It's a super cool thing to do, and like I really really like the idea. I mean, obviously from the selfish perspective of being able to have the opportunity to like showcase us and a live album.
Mm-hmm.
I love the concept of live albums, and seeing it on like a metal perspective.
Yeah.
You don't get it a whole lot. So I'm stoked to be able to do that. And I'm also stoked just because it's awesome to work with people like you that you don't need to do this. There's no fucking reason, you know what I mean? Like, you got a family and a house and a job and 3 fucking bands. You don't have to do this.
It's fun.
But there you go.
Yeah, it's fun.
And that's what the fuck I'm all about. That's like me in this podcast. I don't fucking have to do this. Like, it's like I don't make a penny off this show. I have to, it's like, I mean, I chip in on the space where I record this. This gear isn't fucking free.
Yeah.
I have to pay for web hosting, all this stuff. It's like
And
literally
as I said when we came in, this is
hundreds.
pro.
It's like hundreds and hundreds of dollars
This
out of my
is pro.
pocket
This
every
is
month.
not an iPhone sitting in a corner.
No, it's not. But I do it because I love it. And I think that it's important to be able to like give other people that are doing cool stuff opportunities to come on and talk about the stuff. And like you're giving people the opportunities to fucking,
Thank you very much.
that fucking rip live to be able to fucking record it and show it to the world. That's awesome.
So I do have a story about Plasmid. I've never met those guys, although I know that one of them works with Polka.
Yeah. Steve.
Right?
Yeah. He used to play drums with Sykes and the New Violence,
Okay.
actually. Yeah. But he's their vocalist.
Okay. So the band that I like a lot from Chicago, Radar, again, we put out their record last year. They came through Pittsburgh sometime last year, and Charlie, the singer who plays drums in Simon Ferocious, my still existing Chicago band. So
all these people.
I know.
Fucking 10 bands.
He's the main guy in Radar. They were in Buffalo the night before and he got really sick. Like, he ate something and was like sick. They get to Pittsburgh. He decides he can't do the show. The other 2 guys in the band still go to the show. It's a Plasmid show. They can't play. Show still goes out. I think it was at the Moose, actually. And the Plasmid guys gave all the money to Radar so that they could get back home. I mean, that's like, they didn't even play the show.
Yeah.
And that's just cool shit. That's what I mean. Like, people in Pittsburgh are cool. I'm not sure that every band would do that. I'm sure that most bands wouldn't do that.
Sure.
But it was really, that was really good of them to do that. And I know that Charlie really appreciated it. He still talks about it. So I guess.
I think that, I think the interesting thing with bands in Pittsburgh and maybe cities that are like this, where It's like, Pittsburgh's not, it's a small city, but it's dense. There's a lot of shit that's going on here. But in terms of like entertainment, it's not like a hub. You know what I mean? It's not like a destination spot for a lot of people. So I think that's why that like competition element doesn't really exist here. And there's a whole lot of like empathy for bands that are on the road because like working, if you're a band in Pittsburgh, you have to work just like a little bit harder than a band that's maybe coming from an area like a Chicago or a New York or an LA where there's like a lot more of like a notable scene and people that like, you could just be playing a random show maybe in one of those nights and somebody that has some sort of like, I don't want to say power, but like somebody that like could maybe help you with your band could just randomly be at an event.
Yeah.
And I mean, not always, but it could happen.
Right.
But the likeliness that's going to happen here isn't going to happen.
Very
it's
low,
super low.
Yeah.
So I just think that there's a very much like a take care of your own mentality here. And whenever bands come through, that empathy's there. It's not like well, fuck you. You didn't play the show. So we're going to take the money. It's like, oh, like the people in those bands know that when they're on the road, what it's like. They remember.
Yeah,
I mean?
That's definitely part of it. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just cool, and I'm happy to have them on the show. I'd like them to do, I'd like to do as we get down the line with these. Lots of bands want to do it, of course, but Plasmid is one of those bands where I think they actually could do it. That's also the other thing. I'm not going to name any names, but, you get bands that are just like I've seen that want to do it, and you're just like, you guys, it's called practice and you need more of it. You can't, if I record you live, I can't put it out because it's not going to sound good.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, that's honestly even a thing that I come across with the podcast in terms of people that want to come on the show, but I know that the episodes just aren't going to do good. And that's a weird thing to say because it doesn't matter. I'm not doing it. Again, I don't have like sponsors or anybody that I need to like meet a quota for, but at the same time, it's like, well, this is time and this is money. Yeah. Like with the amount of money that I spend just on the space alone, and you divide that up by how many episodes I record a month, there is sort of like there's a dollar amount that each episode costs to produce.
Right.
And it's like, okay, like if we're going to come over, well, if I'm going to come here and we're going to do this and you're not going to have anything to talk about, even though you want to be on the show, and nobody's going to listen to it, why are we doing this? But I also want to like give people an opportunity to get out there. But at the same time, every fucking time that I know an episode isn't going to do good, it doesn't do good.
Yeah, but that's the line, right? Because you want to be supportive. People make jokes about me, like friends make jokes about me, because I'll be in a band with anybody. So if someone says, "Hey, man, will you come join a band?" I will almost always say yes. Like unless you're a complete asshole, then I won't. But I will almost always say yes, even if you're a beginner, just because I want people to love it like I love it, And so that's always the line you have to walk. Let's encourage people to play shows and do stuff outside of just playing the show and going to the shows that they're playing at, because that's also a bummer. I support the scene. Well, what I mean to say is I support the scene for the shows that I'm playing in. And then I don't really, I think it's easy to say, but it's also kind of true, because the scene in Pittsburgh is really good. And I just want people to feel encouraged that you can do whatever you want. I moved here in May and I'm doing all this stuff because it's not hard to do. You just have to do it.
Yeah. That's, again, I bring this up a lot. A lot of people always say, like, you do so much. I don't know how you do it. I just fucking do it.
Yeah. This is what I do.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of other hobbies. Well, Warhammer now, just that's what we were talking about before. That's my new thing. But music, I spend almost all of my time outside of my day job doing something with music.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of time for me to fucking do the podcast. You know what I mean? Like I walk down the street. I live right at the top of the hill. I walk down the hill. I turn on the computer, turn on the camera. Hopefully the guest shows up on time.
Yeah.
We sit down, we chat for an hour, and then you leave. And then in a couple weeks,
it appears.
Yeah, I'll just put the stuff onto my other computer and then I'll upload it to the internet and it's done. Simple enough. It's not that crazy. I mean, there's a lot of time in like organizing and shit like that,
Yeah.
but it's fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it.
So to zip up the live from 222 Ormsby #2, it is Friday, December 6th with Gray Walker and Plasmid, and it's gonna be tight. It's gonna be
super sick. I can guarantee you that we'll be playing new stuff there. I just want to fucking just play all of our new stuff there and be like, this is our album, motherfuckers. Fuck the studio. But no, we like being in the studio, so we're not gonna do that. But we will probably play some new stuff.
Yeah, just
We'll play some old favorites.
Yeah.
And just come there ready to mosh and ready to drink and ready to smoke. Just you gotta make sure that you're smoking outside and
Make
you're
your
drinking
choice.
inside.
Make your choice, everyone.
Yeah.
For that moment, decide what you want to do more.
Yeah.
And everything will be fine.
And it's fucking tight too because our practice space is only like 5 minutes from Ormsby. So
Oh, really?
Yeah. Our so we practice at Colt's house, our bass player, and he just lives like right over in Arlington. So we're right there.
There's a church for sale like right up the hill.
Oh,
that I've looked at online with the idea that I would like to own a church.
Okay.
It's empty right now.
Yeah.
It's not expensive. The neighborhood's not great. Okay. But it's a church.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not like the most practical thing you can buy. But how many people out there own churches?
Well, shout outs to Sid Riggs, who is our buddy that we Gray Walker recently recorded that Thrice cover with.
Okay.
And we'll be recording probably the new stuff with him as well. He's been on the show a couple times, but he is also, like you, a Pittsburgh transplant by way of Colorado. But he was in LA for a long time playing in bands. He played in Rob Halford's band.
Ah, sweet.
He played in a band called Sinistar that toured with Limp Bizkit back in the day.
Nice.
He's a really cool dude. Ex-drummer, moved into like studio stuff. And now him and his partner, they bought a church. And he has a recording studio in the basement of the church. It's fucking awesome. And his partner does art, and she uses like the chapel as her art space. Really beautiful building. So they moved here. They bought a church, and they're fucking killing it.
I should
so
do it.
use that as
I
fucking
should definitely
influence
do it,
because Sid's an awesome dude. Shout outs to Sid. A lot of you people know him, but if you don't, look him up. He's a good dude.
Yeah. So then I could be the second person that that owns a church.
Yeah. And then maybe I'll be the third. I want one too.
There's just something cool about it, isn't
Sure,
there? There really is. And so, and that one up on Mount Oliver, like it has the pews and everything are still in it.
Oh, killer.
It has the rectory that's, okay, it's not brand new, but it's in all really good shape. You could actually move in and live in it, and it would probably be fine now.
Hell yeah.
I don't know. It's maybe that's the next thing. Maybe that's the next thing.
One thing at a time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, no, actually 10 things at a time. But you can only handle so much. So I have faith. It seems like you've done enough to get yourself. You could probably do it.
Yeah, you just have it's planning, right? You just have to figure out what's going to work at the time.
So you seem to be a rather accomplished adult. You seem to have
well, much older than most people probably.
Well, I'm just saying. Okay, maybe you're older.
Yeah.
But you're having fun.
Yeah.
You're still doing the stuff you love. But you're obviously, able to do it in a somewhat financially stable way to allow you to have all of this extra fun, right?
You can't go too crazy.
What has life been for, we'll just say the aging punk rocker that could still have fun in his, however old you are, 40s?
I'm 52.
You're 50 fucking 2?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. It was just my birthday, actually. So
you've
thanks,
like
everyone.
5 times the amount of hair as I do. I fucking don't like this guy anymore.
That's like, so what I tell everyone is I'm half Japanese, right? So it's the Asian blood, right? Keeping your hair and keeping it black like makes a huge difference. And then whenever I start to feel old, I just get more tattoos, and then and then everything is fine.
Okay.
I think the other thing really is like, I don't wear polo shirts. I don't play golf. I don't do like middle-aged suburban guy stuff.
Sure.
And I think that's the other thing.
But in terms of just like general like lifestyle decisions, do you eat well? Do you exercise? Or are you just kind of like whatever? Like how do you how do you manage to just take care of yourself? You seem like a reasonably healthy person.
So I run
Run.
almost every day.
Okay, running.
So that's
the
like
thing.
the thing. I don't do a lot of other exercise, but I do enjoy running. So
Running's enough. That works a lot of things in one.
yeah,
In one, right?
My wife and I have bikes, and Pittsburgh's actually a pretty good biking city.
Yeah, hell
along
yeah.
the rivers and stuff. So that's fun. I don't drink a lot of beer. I like beer. I don't drink a lot of it day to day, but I do drink whiskey every day.
Oh, whiskey every day.
Yeah.
So are you somebody that's knowledgeable in the world of whiskey?
So not single malts, so not scotches, but I am a bourbon guy. I
Okay.
like bourbon a lot.
Okay.
And so I have quite a few bottles at home. And so when I say I drink bourbon every day, I have a glass of bourbon every day. I don't have a bottle of bourbon every day.
So that's funny. When it comes to beer, I'm reasonably knowledgeable in all different styles, and I know what I want. I know what I like.
Yeah.
I can ask what's in a certain type of beer, and I could tell what I'm gonna like or not like based on ingredients.
Well, I mean, it's right downstairs, so
yeah.
I guess.
But I like beer a lot. I like coffee a lot, and the concept of liquor I like a lot. But it's like so much. It's a lot more difficult to get into the world of exploring liquor, I think, and becoming knowledgeable in it, unless you know somebody that knows a lot or you have enough money to just explore.
I think that's like, for me, that's like the Scotch world, right? And so because there's so much nuance and it can get really pricey, I don't think bourbon is like that.
Okay.
There's like cheap bourbon like Jim Beam, which is fine. If I'm on a plane and they have Jim Beam, I drink Jim Beam. That's what I drink. It's fine. But I don't drink it unless, I don't have any other options. But there are lots of like mid-tier bourbons. Like Evan Williams single barrel costs $29, and it is a great bourbon that you can put up against lots of other bourbons.
So I was going to ask you, like, what would be your go-to mid-level? Is that the one?
Yeah, so Evan Williams single barrel is really good. So like normal Evan Williams is not the best, I would say.
Okay.
But the single barrel is actually really, really good.
All right, question 2. Top tier.
So like my favorite.
If you have to give me like one or two, that's fine. Like if you can't just be one, but just like.
So Weller, I think, is one of my favorites. Okay. Weller is famous because it's the Pappy Van Winkle, which is the if you know anything about bourbon, it's like the one they make like, I don't know, 250 bottles or something a year. They just don't make a lot, and it's really expensive. But Weller is the cast off of Pappy, so it's what they don't put in. It's what they don't bottle. They put it into Weller bottles.
Okay.
But it's essentially the same process. So I like Weller a lot. It's also not expensive in the $30.
Oh wow. Okay.
I like Angel's Envy a lot. Like a lot of the Louisville sort of whiskeys, I think are good. But in the end, if it tastes good to you, it tastes good. That's just it's like music. If it sounds good, there is no guilty pleasure. Fuck that.
I agree with you 100%. Like, as somebody that has an extensive collection of records where, like I have an entire Paramore discography right next to my entire Pig Destroyer discography. I do not have any fuck the concept of a guilty pleasure.
Right, it is
good music is good music.
Right.
Good songwriting is good songwriting.
Right.
And that's the way that I feel about beer and food and everything like that.
And
like,
so now just take that and move into whiskey and you're fine.
Yeah, I think I just gotta explore. I'll definitely look into those.
So
for sure.
When you go into the shop, you just avoid, like, the bottom shelf is the bottom shelf for a reason, because it's not very good.
Yeah.
It's cheap, and if you want to get drunk, drink that, but you'll also get sick.
Yeah.
But like there's lots of good mid-tier $25 to $40 bourbons. There's a ton. I think it's actually hard to go wrong there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I'll definitely check into. I've always been a fan of like the bourbon barrel aged beers and things like that.
Yeah.
Like I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which shout outs right now to Allegheny City Brewing, which is right down the street from us. I don't know. This episode's going to be going up a little late, but they may still have it. They have a killer barrel aged stout on right now.
Okay.
That's fucking phenomenal. And shout outs to them because they're one of the more underrated breweries in the city, and I think they're fucking awesome.
And we were just talking about beer because I'm not an IPA guy, even though like every brewery seems to focus on IPAs.
I'm not either. Like I don't get me wrong, like I will fuck with a Bell's Two Hearted any day, or even though it's not like an IPA, but like Dale's Pale Ale, like a lot of the traditional stuff I like, but a lot of the newer style IPAs,
Like
stuff,
hazy IPA.
yeah, that
and
stuff,
all that
it
stuff.
bothers me. Like
Yeah.
I could feel myself gaining weight as I drink it. It's just gross. Like it's not for me. Like it's one of those things where if you want to like relate it to music, it's like the pop, like bad radio pop of beer.
It's like popular now, and I get that.
Yeah,
And so,
because it doesn't taste like beer.
so breweries like
like-
have to brew it.
Yeah.
I also get that,
But it's like I like beer that tastes like
yeah,
beer.
Yeah.
I don't need a beer to taste like orange juice.
Yeah.
And like again, getting into like even some of the funky stouts, like I don't need a beer to taste like a chocolate chip milkshake. It's cool if you could do it, and I'm excited to try it and be like, oh, neat. But if I wanted chocolate milk, I could just get chocolate milk for, $1. I don't have to spend $9 for a glass of your fucking fancy beer that tastes like chocolate milk.
Miskatonic a couple of years ago, they did I think it was for their anniversary. They made some like 5 small barrels of really weird beer, and one of them was Squid Ink.
Oh, wow.
And so I had it, and it wasn't terrible. It was a bit salty, I guess, but super weird. But it was not popular, as you might imagine.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's like I love the idea of experimenting and trying different things, but yeah, it is fucking like it's just annoying because like I'm somebody like me and my partner, we go out a lot. Like we love going to different restaurants and doing different things and getting beers while we're out. Like it's just we're like somewhat foodies, but like cheap. We're not like fancy foodies, you know what I mean? Like there's like a place where we can get like a fucking $10 plate of food, we'll go.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like getting beers with dinner, most of the time it's all like there'd be like 8 IPAs and then like Miller Lite. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like if you're gonna have fucking a dozen taps at your place, why would you just have all the same kind of beer?
Yeah. Which is why I often end up getting a Manhattan or something.
Sure.
Because I don't want to drink that, and so I'll drink a Manhattan.
I'll just drink a water. And fucking drink it home.
Yeah. That's always the good option, right? Just drink it home. Yeah. I agree there.
Yeah, it depends on where we are. Like it's with the world of cocktails is another thing that I'm just so intrigued by, but I don't know nearly enough to like always order a drink with confidence that I'm gonna like it.
Well, the other thing is if you go to a place that doesn't make cocktails a lot and you tell your waitress, I'll have a Manhattan with makers in it, and they look at you like, I really don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And so then you're like, oh, let me change my order. I'll have a beer now.
Sure.
Because they're just not going to be able to make it. Even if they have the ingredients, they have no one there with any.
That's why I always like going to places that are very focused on things. I think of restaurants as I look at restaurants or coffee shops or even breweries, anything in particular, the way that I look at guitar pedals, where it's like I want something that does one thing really good instead of something that does 10 things okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll go into a restaurant like a TGI Fridays or something, which is a dramatic example, and that's like a multi-effects pedal that does all of these fucking things kind of okay. I would rather just have like one really good delay pedal, go to one place that's like, oh, we fucking kill it at cocktails. There's 7 fucking things on the menu. That's it. I guarantee you all those things are going to fucking be fantastic.
Great. Yeah.
So I always try to seek out those sort of things.
In Japan, if you go to restaurants in Japan, it's they're all broken down by like a thing. So just exactly what you're talking about. You can go to a sushi restaurant, or you can go to a steak restaurant, or you can go to a ramen restaurant, but they don't serve anything else. If you go to the restaurant, you're getting the thing.
I don't know if you want to open up that other beer.
Thank you. You're getting the thing. So that's like you should go to Japan and go to a restaurant.
That sounds like a dream. I would love that.
So just go tour with Grey Walker.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
done.
Maybe one day. I mean, they like metal over there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We got to get it together. We got to get some new stuff together, get some new merch together.
I think live from 222 number 2 is going to break Grey Walker.
I hope so.
If I can just put it out there.
I fucking hope so. That would be tight. I mean, it's the thing is like, I feel like the only things that are holding a band back like Grey Walker and us is just the fact that it's like, okay, cool, we finally figured this out, but now we're in our 30s. We're not in our fucking 20s and teens anymore. So it's like, okay, like this is tight. Being in a band's awesome. We're all best friends, super tight, but like, fuck, we got school and some people are still trying to be adults. We got kids, we got wives, we got families, you know, and it's like, that stuff's awesome too.
Yeah.
It's not like a burden.
Right.
It's like, it's great that all of us, it's funny. It's like everybody in the band's like, you know, we're just all like settled and in comfortable spots, which is awesome. I love being around that. It's a healthy environment.
It is a healthy
to be in.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work for being like a touring band all the time. So it just takes so much effort for all of us to get on the same page to be able to do stuff.
I think that, so my idea or my feeling about this is there are 2 tracks, right? So when you're young and you want to focus on music to the exclusion of everything else, and that's what you do, right? So I have a good friend who actually I still take guitar lessons from. He lives in LA. He moved out after high school in the 80s, and he's lived in LA ever since. And he is the best guitar player that I know. His name is Mark Tremalgia. I take lessons from him still now.
Excellent.
There you go. Exactly. He could probably, if I said, "Hey, Mark, play that right now," he would. Right? Okay, it's not that hard, but he for sure could.
Yeah.
But he makes his living from music in
That's
LA,
awesome.
but it's a slog, right? So even now, he has to hustle for everything. Hustle, because it's the 1% that becomes Aerosmith or whatever, right? But he's great. And then there's the track that I took where I played guitar up until I had kids, and then I had a job, and then I took care of my kids, and then we moved to Germany. And then once my kids got older, then I got back into music. And now my kids are out of the house, as we were talking about, and all of that sort of stuff. Now I have time and money to do whatever I want, and this is what I do. So those, I think, are the 2 tracks. The trade-off is I have to do something else to make money.
Yeah.
And so then I spend my money, as you were saying, on music. I'm not making any money on music. I'm spending money on music because it's worthwhile.
That's why you work, though. Part of the reason why you work.
Yeah, for sure. So those, I think, are the 2 tracks. And of course, there's nuance and everything in between, but sometimes I regret not saying, you know, fuck it to everything. I'm just going to be a rock star versus what I ended up doing. But what I ended up doing, as you just said, is it's comfortable. I can do what I want now.
I think that, you know, I know some people that are in bands that tour all the time that are, you know, very successful musically, but it's funny because you'll talk to a lot of those people and sometimes all they want is a family, like settle down, chill. They're fucking over it. So it's like, you shouldn't take, you know, like a simple lifestyle for granted. Cause like, that's what even some people on the other side, that's what they want. It's like, all you want to do is be on the road all the time. And people that are on the road just want to be fucking at home with their fucking kids and shit like that. So there's a balance in the middle. And I think it's a lot of compromise and a lot of just like really taking some time to be self-reflective and understand what it is. What do you really want? And what are you actually working towards? What is the end fucking goal?
Right.
And you know, with us and Grey Walker, I think it's just a thing where it's like, we all have really, you know, we all feel really comfortable where we are. And the only unfortunate thing is it just takes longer for us to do things.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of just being patient but persistent at the same time. And just, we're always working on stuff. We're still getting together. We're always writing.
Yeah.
And, you know, we might only be able to go out of town for like, you know, limited amounts of time, but we plan for it, plan it ahead so we can make sure we could do it. And it's better than doing nothing.
Right.
So we're just working on it.
When the Doping the Void guys come over, so usually about every 2 years, they come over and we do 10 or 12 days. Everybody takes vacation. You know, I rent a van, they fly over. And we tour, and it's usually a show a night for 10 or 12 days. And in most senses, it's the best time ever, right? Because you're playing music every night, you're living that life. But there are some moments when you're like, that 30 minutes is the best 30 minutes in the universe, right?
Hell yeah.
That 30 minutes when you're on stage is the best always. Even a bad show, I'd rather have 1,000 bad shows than not do it. But sometimes in the other 23 and a half hours, you're just like, yeah, this kind of sucks.
Totally.
So I can't imagine doing that like my whole life, even though some of me still would want to have tried that. But your life takes you where your life takes you. And you do the best at that time. You make good decisions with the information that you have. I think that's all it comes down to.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing too that's really hard for Gray Walker is that we're all very well aware that we're past the point. I mean, and it also just doesn't work with what we do when it comes to like, okay, we'll like the whole like playing basement shows on weeknights, sleeping in the van, like that dream. Nope, that's crumbled in a ball. That's thrown away. That's just not for us. Because the other thing too, like with what we do, it's like, you know, we need like, it has to sound good. We want it to be cool and it has to be a good space. You know what I mean? It's like we'll play DIY spaces, but it needs to be a place where like, oh, the gear works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we're on the road, especially, it needs to be a thing where it's like, oh, there's like a door cover so we can get something, not like this like pass a bucket around, you know, and you get fucking, you know, maybe like $5 and a couple beers at the end of the night. It just doesn't work for us, unfortunately. So it's
sometimes we still, you know, we still do that stuff again because we know that we're not surviving on that because going on tour for 10 or 12 days with guys flying from Germany, we've already lost a bunch of money, right? We're not recouping anything.
Yeah.
So then you just treat it like a vacation and whatever you get is you get. So that situation's a little bit different, but I get
it's hard. I mean, I will say this, and this isn't to throw any of my people under the bus. I'm a lot more willing to make compromises than maybe some other people in the band. Yeah. But because of that, it's just, I mean, we usually find a way to meet in the middle. Yeah. But, you know, there are some people in the band that are a little bit more, I mean, I guess it's any group of people. Yeah. There's always going to be more people, some people that are a little bit more particular about their.
That was a very diplomatic way of saying that. Well done.
About their time on the road. And that's fine. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with you, there was one thing that we had talked about. We were talking about food, and you were talking about you being half Japanese. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you something. We're talking about very particular foods and drinks and things like that. Yeah. I wanted to get your take on sushi.
Yeah.
This is a really random take.
Yeah, that's great.
So what is your opinion on like sushi versus like candy sushi, or like what a lot of like American people consider to be sushi?
Well, yeah, what do you mean? So I'm looking for clarification now.
So like there's a lot of stuff that's like the more traditional sushi, you know what I mean? It's like very clean and simple. And then you get a lot of like the rolls that are like.
So maki is different from sushi, right? Maki is fish on rice.
Yeah.
And sushi is fish on rice. Maki is a roll.
Yeah.
So those are the two different
Well,
things.
that's the thing. A lot of people it's all sushi to America. Right. So that's what I'm asking you basically, is, you know, how do you take that whole thing?
So Japanese generally don't eat a lot of meat and cheese, right? So first thing is, if you're getting a roll and it has cream cheese in it, that's not maki. That's not like a Japanese thing.
Shout outs to a Philadelphia roll, but you're fucked.
so that's the first thing.
Yeah.
But you know, you can, in the end, I think you can put whatever you want. It's about what's going to taste good and what people are going to buy. So if you have a sushi restaurant, it's the same thing as like with beer.
It's like the IPAs.
Right, it's like the IPAs. You can do the art that you want to do.
That's so funny. I never thought about that until now. Fuck.
Yeah. You gotta put something that people are gonna buy. Otherwise, they're not gonna buy it.
That is awesome. Hell yeah.
But I love uni. So uni is the one thing that a lot of people don't like. It's sea urchin.
Okay.
Uni, I think, is the best. It's the purest taste of the ocean that you can put in your mouth.
Okay, that's a bold statement.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing, but it's perhaps the strongest like fish tasting thing you can ever eat. And so if you don't love fish, don't eat uni. But to me, it's like if a place has uni, I'm getting it. It's usually more expensive because it's rare. but it is amazing. So I would say I was in Japan once in Tokyo, and there's a fish market like right on the ocean, and they do the catch like at 3 a.m. and then they bring it to this fish market. And I had uni that had been caught that morning, and it was, I mean, it was like, I don't believe in God, but it was like seeing God.
That is awesome.
That
Hell yeah.
moment, I was like, I could die right now.
Yeah.
This is the best thing I've ever tasted. It was amazing.
That's killer.
So if you like sushi, if there's a place that serves uni, which is not all places because again, it's not so common, you should try it because it is fucking amazing.
Yeah. So that's another thing. Like, so I have a pretty much, I still eat fish, but I have a pretty much vegetarian diet.
Okay.
Almost I eat vegan as much as I can.
Okay.
But I mean, there are things like pizza we were talking about earlier. It's not like I could live without pizza, and that's a lot of people think that I'm bullshitting because like I'm like a Ninja Turtle or something, and people think that I need pizza to function. I can live without pizza. It's just, I try to eat as well as I can, as much as I can. And I mean, I haven't had like chicken or beef or any of that, like anything besides fish for well over a decade. It's been a long time. I'm just over it. I don't care. But with all of that being said, I do like seafood, but my sushi, maki, all that stuff is like the way that I am with a lot of liquor. I'm just like, I'm always like too intimidated to like try stuff, and I'm never like around people that like know what the fuck is up. So
we should go out for sushi sometime. It would be
fuck
fun.
yes,
It would
I
be
am
fun.
fucking down.
So we just drink
If
a
we
bunch
get-
of sake and eat sushi for a night. That would be fun.
Hell yeah. Fuck. That sounds tight.
I think that should be the prep for the next 222 Live From thing, right? We have to prep the show, so we should just go out and happen to be at a sushi restaurant to prep it.
Yes. I fucking love this idea. That is fucking tight. Yeah. No, please. That would be great.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where like I have such I'm stumbling over the word that I want to use.
Okay.
So much radio silence. I apologize.
Was that uncomfortable for everybody?
No, I have a very curious mind. And I always want to, when I get into anything, whether it is music or beer or podcasting, it's like I want to know the best possible way to engage with everything. And anytime I have sushi, it's like I know that I'm not doing this the way that I need to be doing it.
Yeah.
So that'd be fucking
Let's
awesome.
do it. It would be fun. I do have a question for you, though.
Okay.
Unrelated to any of what we've been talking about, and that's Sykes.
Okay.
So I have a hip hop band. It's not really a hip hop band.
Yeah, you were telling me about this. Yeah,
It's called An Asian Film. We did 2 records, and then it sort of stopped. Not for any particular reason, but I moved out of state and all of that.
Yeah.
So the rapper, a dude named Jelani, we did the first record. I had a lot of the music written before he came in, and so it was very much more punk, indie, rockish. I like to use effects, so it has a lot of effect stuff. And then he rapped over it. But there's some disjointedness there because I wrote the music first. I didn't write it with him. And then the second record was much more organic. We wrote a lot of stuff together and, did music together. And then he did the rhymes. I fell into that scene mostly because I worked with Jelani at the time. And I was like, it was the same sort of thing. I was just like, hey, you rap, just come over and let's just do something because I think it would be fun, even though I didn't know a lot about the music. So I wanted to know how you got into Sykes and how that all developed, because your vocal delivery in Sykes is different from your vocal delivery in Grey Walker. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess so. I mean, they're 2 different things, right? You don't eat a sandwich the same way you drink a milkshake, right? Like 2 different things. But so the Cliff's notes on me and hip hop would be middle school kid, punk rock, fuck the system, graffiti.
Okay.
As a result of being in the graffiti world, I started meeting a lot of people that were into hip hop.
Okay.
So I met some friends that are in the rap. I'm into my punk and all this other stuff, but I do like some rap too, just in terms of like goofy stuff that's just on MTV. But like all the rap that I like is like ironic. Like it's either like it's something that's like really funny or like Beastie Boys type stuff, right?
Yeah.
I always wanted to do music, but I couldn't just because I lived in an apartment, low income family, things like that. I was super into video games. MTV puts out MTV Music Generator for the Sony PlayStation. It's basically like Fruity Loops for your PlayStation. So now I had a friend that got it. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. You can make music with this thing.
That's cool.
So I got this thing. I start trying to make like Aphex Twin type stuff because I was already like, I'm a child of the 90s. So like the whole like Aphex Twin, Prodigy, Chemical Brothers, all that stuff. I liked all that stuff aside from like the punk and metal stuff because it was kind of like punk rock electronic music.
Right, exactly. Right? That's what seeps in.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
So, okay, so now I'm making stuff like this. And then like this thing clicked in my head where I realized, oh, the way that you make rap or like you make beats is the same way that you make like techno. So I was like, okay. So I started making beats and then we started like doing goofy rap songs in high school. And that was pretty much where it started. And then through the graffiti world, I started finding out about like underground hip hop stuff, backpack stuff, your Aesop Rocks and your Murs and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, oh, this is cool. And then eventually you get through middle school into high school. I'm still doing graffiti. I'm still doing beats. Everything's a little goofy, but I'm starting to find out about more serious things. And then, I don't know, me and my friends that we made goofy rap songs with, we stopped doing it. And then I started like writing stuff seriously just because I was like, okay, like I can write goofy songs about robbing people and boobs and stuff like as much as I want, but like I'm not going to be fucking 15 forever. I'm like, like 17 and like this feels a little weird. So I start writing serious things. And also like you're becoming an adult, so more serious things are starting to happen. You know what I mean? Like my mom like kicked me out when I was 17. So like I'm like, now I have a job and I'm like paying rent and like, I'm doing all these things and like I'm still doing music and on my PlayStation and starting to like live a more serious life. So start writing serious things. And that's pretty much where it all came from, was just like fucking around as a teenager. And then the circumstances of my particular life.
So was like, Sykes has been then more of your main thing than everything else?
Yeah. So back then, it wasn't Sykes. There wasn't a name at all really for it. I was just making music. Like there was the goofy stuff. Then there was serious stuff that I just kind of like wrote and it just existed. I didn't like have a serious rap name or anything. Fast forward a couple years. I start recording some people, other rappers out of my basement of the place I was living in because I was I was working at like Taco Bell. And like, I had some friends that I knew that I made beats and stuff and like, yo, can we come record? So I start like recording people and then they told people that they recorded with me. So I start recording people. And then eventually it was this thing where it was like, like people want to shout me out on the track, like they don't want to say like, yo, Brian on the decks or whatever. So, the last functioning graffiti name that I had was Sykes, but it had happened late enough that I really like when I was like super active in graffiti, that wasn't my name.
Okay.
But like after I turned 18 and I started like working a lot and I had like all these bills, I still wanted to do graffiti stuff, but I didn't want to like, I started thinking about like, what if I get in trouble?
Right.
So like
I get arrested.
So yeah, I changed my name and I didn't really do a whole lot illegally under that name. And people started asking me like, what should we call you on the track? So I was like, Sykes is fine. So that happened. And then everybody started calling me Sykes. And then I had these songs that I was starting to record. I was like, well, I guess that's going to be
cool.
I guess that's going to be my rap name. So then that was like 2008.
That's a pretty organic origin story though.
Yeah.
That's cool. Cause that's like real life happened and then it spit out Sykes.
It was so unintentional. And like I've said this before, I'm not the hugest fan of Sykes being my rap name. I don't feel that in our current climate it is unique enough to really stand
Yeah,
out and makes
okay.
it very hard to look me up on the internet, which is a big part of the reason why I ended up giving the band the name, the Sykes and the New Violence.
Okay.
That was 100% Google's fault. Had nothing to do with me wanting to name the band, to be completely honest with you. I mean, now it's fair because they help write as much of the music as I do.
Yeah.
But back when I did it, I was still pretty much like doing everything.
Yeah.
But I just wanted it to be, I wanted you to be able to find me on the internet.
Are you related to Mike Howe, who is the vocalist from Metal Church?
No.
That's too bad.
Nor am I related to the other Brian Howe, who's the vocalist of Bad Company.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, lots of vocalists out there. With the last name
Yeah,
Howe.
no relation.
Wow, that's too bad for you, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, that is the short, not so short answer to your question.
So I have an idea of a hip hop thing, experimental music thing that that maybe we can explore at our sushi dinner.
Okay.
I'd like to get my guy from Chicago out and put together a show, but not just like a rap show or hip hop show. Because as we were talking before, it's like, oh, I'm a hip hop artist. Here, let me play my backing track, and I'm gonna rap over it. That's not so interesting to me. So I'd like some.
You have to be
more-
one hell of a fucking performer.
Yeah.
You really have to be.
So I want some more like interesting experimental stuff happening. So I had this idea because I do something called Katzulhu Fest every year, where it's just like that's my vanity thing, right? So I get to make T-shirts with Katzulhu on it, and hear the bands that are playing, and I'm involved in the whole thing. And usually I play once in one or two of the bands and stuff like that. And then like Nathan Gray from Boy Sets Fire, one of my big heroes, I booked him to play the first one, mostly because I wanted to meet him, and he signed my arm and I had it tattooed in and stuff like that.
Wow. All right.
So like
that's some nerd
real
shit.
fanboy. I mean, I warned him. I said, "You're gonna come here. I'm gonna bring all my stuff. You got to sign it all." And he was like, "Yeah, that's fine."
Cool.
So I do Katzulhu Fest. That's like my punk rock thing.
Yeah.
And I do it at Miskatonic in Chicago now. That I'm gonna try to get Weird Paul out to do that.
Hell yeah, dude. He's a good
next
dude.
year,
Yeah.
But I thought about a non-punk rock thing for Pittsburgh, which would be this other thing, like hip hop, but experimental, something. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Can the scene support something like that?
Yeah. So there's a lot of hip hop and hip hop adjacent stuff that's happening in the city right now, which is really cool. And a lot of the people know each other. So I think, yeah, you could do that.
So I think it would be fun and just something different, push myself in a little bit of a different direction that I'm not comfortable in. I think it would be fun.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I guess everybody heard it here first too, that's going to be the next thing for Katzulhu.
Pittsburgh's a good, since there's nobody's like, there's no like particular genre in Pittsburgh that does phenomenally well.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of like an underdog city. And I think a result of that leads in a lot of weird stuff because there's no like rules that are set like, oh, like so-and-so's blowing up, so we should be like them. It's like nobody's doing incredibly well.
So nobody's following any trend.
It fosters a lot more weirdness.
Yeah.
And there's also just a lot of general like weird bills that happen here. And it's like encouraged. Like last night with the Sykes party, it was all hip hop acts. And that's the first time that we've played with all hip hop acts in a long time.
Cool.
We're normally on like a lot of weird mixed bill lineups, and that's how a lot of shows tend to be. And a lot of people seem to prefer it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interest in just music in general here versus like particular genres, which is really cool.
I booked this band Essential Machine.
Yeah.
At Ormsby a couple of weeks ago, and it was on like a pretty like heavy bill, and they're not that heavy, but they're really interesting. And I was, I'm thinking sort of like that sort of stuff. I think it would be.
There's a lot of experimental stuff, especially like there's always been a real heavy punk rock presence in Pittsburgh, but also underneath the surface, there's a real heavy electronic experimental thing that's always been happening here. Tons of artists.
Cool. So maybe we can do something at Get Hip or something like that. It would be cool.
I know somebody you could talk to.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
Hell yeah. Let's chat more about it
Yeah.
over some
Sushi and sake.
sushi. So, with that being said, is there a sushi place that you have found in Pittsburgh that you find to be exceptional?
Not so far.
Okay.
So, of course, like sushi, I've been to Japan several times, obviously, because I have family there. The sushi there is great. The best sushi I've had in the States is in Philly for some reason. I'm not sure why that is, but it was one particular place. I don't even remember the name anymore. It was several years ago.
Interesting.
But it was great. There, I go to Mad Noodles a lot because it's
Squirrel Hill?
no, it's Southside. So it's
okay.
two blocks.
Yeah, that's right.
me.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So I got that mixed up with there's another Everyday Noodles. That's
Okay.
at Squirrel Hill. Yeah. Okay.
But they have sushi and it's fine. And it's, it's fine.
Have you been
It's
to
good.
what is it, Umami in Lawrenceville?
I haven't, no.
I heard that place is supposed to be
Okay.
pretty killer.
Well, what we should do then is research like what people think is the best sushi place in Pittsburgh. and go
I've
to
heard a
there.
lot of good things about Umami, and I've also heard a
That
lot.
name bugs me though, so I'm not
It's
sure.
Lawrenceville. What do you want? And I've heard a lot of good things about Luke's that's inside Holy's down in the Strip.
Okay.
But I don't think it's more. I think you could get sushi there, but it's more of like a lunch thing. Like they're not open at night.
Okay.
It's just like it's just like a fish counter at the fish market,
Right.
and they fucking probably have. It's probably really
It's
fresh,
probably really good.
and really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
But it's not like a sit down chill environment. It's
Yeah.
like
I went to we have an office in Tokyo, and I went to our office once, and the guy said, "Hey, let's go to lunch." So we go to lunch, and we went to a sushi place that's just down the street. As we were talking before, there's no chairs or anything. You stand at a counter, and then the guy like brings you sushi. It's suddenly you have food in front of you. It's not even like you don't order anything. It's just like food is brought to you once you walk in the place.
My go-to sushi place in the city is another place with a troublesome name, but it's Number One Sushi.
See, but that's more Japanese,
right?
That's like a weird English Japanese thing.
Yeah,
Umami's like,
yeah,
come
it's
on,
like,
dude, you're trying really hard.
But Number One Sushi, which is downtown, it's in Market Square. It's just like a little hole in the wall spot. It's awesome. I love that place.
Okay.
So that's usually like if I get off work and I'm going through town, like if I want sushi, I'll just stop in there real quick,
All right. Yeah, I like that.
It's a good quick experience. You go in there, you don't got to spend more than 15 minutes there. Order your food, they'll bring it to you. There's a little counter to eat at. Just eat the shit, leave. I like it. It's cute.
But we need a place
and they're
where
always,
we can
for
go
some
get drunk.
reason, they're always blasting K-pop in there. It's really weird, but like, okay, I'm here for it. But like, I awkwardly know enough about K-pop that I know for a fact that they're listening to like K-pop that I've heard in there. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, like I know for a fact that it's not Japanese music because I know the artists that they're playing.
Right.
So, it's really funny.
It's probably owned by a Korean family or something who digs that sort of music.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then I sent you the screenshot of Grey Walker popping up on my Spotify list.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So, and then you said, I hope this is happening for other people, which it must be, right? Because it was, of course, I've listened to Grey Walker on Spotify, so that's probably why it showed up, but it's got to, right? Don't you think?
I would hope so. I don't know
how those algorithms work.
Yeah, I don't know how Spotify populates music to people, but I appreciate that it was sent to you.
Yeah.
That's fucking tight.
It was great.
Hell yeah.
Because
Sick.
at first I was like, oh, this is Darkest Hour, but no, it was Grey Walker.
Womp, womp, womp. So, I mean, with that being said, I don't know. I don't know if we have much else to talk about on the mic.
Maybe not. The important thing was Grey Walker at Live from 222.
No, the important thing is you as a person doing everything that you're doing.
Thanks, man.
And I don't know if you want to do one last drop on your production company, any of the bands where people can find out more about what you're doing.
Sure. I do appreciate it. It's called Katzulhu, Katzulhu. The website is katzulhu.com. All of the files there, all the downloads are actually free except for the Radar record. But every other thing that's on there, you can download for free. You can buy vinyls and I'll ship them to you. And on Facebook, it's the same thing. It's Facebook Katzulhu. I have an Instagram account. My daughter runs it. I send her pictures, and then she posts all the stuff for Instagram. She's really good at social media stuff because she's 23. So
That's awesome.
So I just send her all the stuff, and so all of my Instagram stuff is her. If you contact Ormsby on Facebook, you'll be talking to me. So I do the Ormsby stuff. Dave does the email answering. I do the Facebook stuff. So you should go to local shows and see as many bands as you can. That's always my advice.
Hell yeah. I support that. And that's all, folks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening. One more time, Paul, thanks for being here, my
man.
dude. I really appreciate it. I'll be back again in a couple days with another episode with somebody else doing
Somebody
whatever
cool.
someone else cool.
Yeah.
Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the Beat 2019. Whoop whoop.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Oh, I almost spilled that beer.
spill?
Jesus Christ. Gotta move this microphone stand up. In a beer safe zone. I'll just start podcasting like this. All right, that's it. And we are done,
Cool.
dude. Thank you.
That was fun.
Hell yeah. I was like, fuck, I looked at the thing. I was like, an hour 20. Shit.
What?
Yeah.